Brought to you by Penguin.
Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, translated by Bernard O'Donoghue, read by Frank Turner.
Both for ease of listening and because it contains details of the plot, we've placed the introduction to this Penguin classic at the end of the audiobook.
1. When the war and the siege of Troy were all over, and the city flattened to smoking rubble, the man who'd betrayed it was brought to trial, most certainly guilty of terrible crimes. Then the noble Aeneas and his royal line swept across Europe and lived as the rulers of every country in the Western world. Powerful Romulus settled at Rome and founded that city of greatest distinction. He gave it his name, which is what it's still known by. Titius made his base in the blue Tuscan hills, and Langobard his on Lombardy's plains. But over the Channel, illustrious Brutus colonized Britain and its rolling mountains to his great content. War, reprisal, exploit have happened here at times. Joy and disaster have often taken turns. After Britain was founded by this powerful leader, brave people were bred there with a liking for warfare, who chose to do battle in turbulent times. More marvels, too, have occurred in our land than anywhere else since the fall of Troy. Of all that ruled here as kings of the Britons, the noblest was Arthur, by every account. So my purpose is now to describe an adventure, which people agree was clearly an event extraordinary even by the standards of Arthur. If you'll pay attention for just a short while, I'll tell it straight, just as I heard it, word for word, exactly as passed down in every detail by each generation down all the days. It was Christmas at Camelot, and there was the king, with his leading lords and all his best soldiers, the famous company of the whole Round Table, celebrating in style, not a care in the world. Again and again strong men tussled, and the noble knights jousted with vigour, till they rode to the court to start on the dancing. Celebrations continued the whole of a fortnight, with all the feasting and pleasure that people could think of. It was fine to hear such glorious commotion, lively uproar all day and dancing at night, the sheerest indulgence in dance hall and bedroom by the ladies and lords, whatever whim took them. With all worldly pleasures they dwelt there together, the most famous knights in the annals of Christendom, the prettiest women that ever drew breath, and the handsomest king at the head of them all. For these were people in the flower of life, in that hall, most successful in the world, their king held full control. It would be hard nowadays to find such fellowship. With the change of the calendar on New Year's Day, the courses were doubled for the top table. When the king and the knights arrived in the hall, and mass was over in the echoing chapel, the singing continued from priests and the rest, and Noel was called out over and over. Then out they ran to bring in the presents, and, shouting greetings, they handed them round, excitedly arguing which were the best. Ladies laughed outright when asked to pay up. The men who won favours were hardly complaining, and all this cavorting went on until mealtime. When they dressed for dinner, they took their places, the nobler the higher, in proper degree. Guinevere the queen was set in the middle, elegantly dressed on her rich throne, cushioned in silks beneath her red canopy, and, hanging around her, Thasian drapes, embroidered and studded with the finest gems that money could buy at the highest price at the time. Too beautiful to describe, her grey eyes shone. No one could ever say they had seen a greater beauty. But Arthur would not eat until everyone was served. He was so young and impulsive, you might call him boyish. He liked life eventful, and he couldn't bear to lie late in bed, or to sit down for long, so much his young blood and active brain roused him. He had another ritual he kept to as well on such major feasts. By tradition, he would never sit and eat before someone told him a new story of some great adventure, some major marvel he could fully believe in, about princes, or armed feats, or other great deeds, or else until someone asked for a knight to fight against, to risk life in combat, man against man, and life against life, to see which of them fortune would favour. This was the king's humour when he was in court, with his gracious company at every grand feast in the hall. So with proud bearing...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?